Carlos Vela, who picks up his first trophy at club level at the age of 33. What does that trophy mean for Carlos Vela's legacy?
All right, so there's two parts of this legacy. There is his legacy to North American fans within Major League Soccer.
Thank you.
That will go down as one of the greatest players to play in Major League Soccer. 5 years, 2 Supporters' Shield, CONCACAF Champions League final appearance, 2019 season that was historic where he was MVP, 34 goals, 15 assists. That mark will be very, very difficult to surpass. It will take somebody very special to break that. And now he gets to lift a trophy. It's one of the all-time greatest players that's played in Major League Soccer. But what does it mean to his legacy if you're a Mexico fan? If you're Sebi Salazar, it is unfulfilled potential.
Yes.
You're getting to see the best player of his generation and one of the best players, at least talent-wise, in Mexican football history. Let it go to waste in the eyes of these guys, like this guy over here, in Major League Soccer and not in La Liga, where he was competing amongst the world's best. The Messis, the Griezmanns in that era, which he was better than in Real Sociedad, the Cristiano Ronaldos, that type of player. He spent the majority of his prime and latter years in Major League Soccer. And to those people, it's wasted potential.
Yes. On the international stage, Vela's legacy will always be he never turned into the player that people like you, who talked about his talent, told us that he would become, right? That's his international legacy. If you're a Mexico fan,
I told you how talented he is.
If you're somebody who watched him in Europe, that's the real legacy of Carlos Vela. If we shrink it down to Major League Soccer, I think this is a really important title, right? Because it validates this project, this designated player project, in a way where I think, honestly, Herc, now you can put Carlos Vela in the discussion in terms of on-field productivity as maybe the best designated player in MLS history. I'm thinking up there with guys like Keane, Giovinco, those guys who came and maybe we're not marketing signings, but were dominant on the field. He's at that level for me, and honestly, he will get more than those guys did because Giovinco and Keane lasted about 4.5 seasons. If Vela plays another 1 or 2, his numbers are going to way outlast those guys. Now, Keane won 3 titles. Vela's got 1.
Hold on.
But he's in that conversation.
Keane won 3 titles.
3 MLS Cup titles.
Yes. And considered as one of the best DPs of all time in Major League Soccer. And Sebastian Giovinco, what he did, he was a cheat code. He was a video game. Not only did he win titles, but he played in different finals. He also is a player that led the best MLS regular season team that I have ever seen. So those 2 players right now are still clear of Carlos Vela. But you mentioned it, Carlos Vela has 2 more years, I believe, was confirmed on his contract. So who knows how inflated those numbers can get, and who knows how many more championships possibly Carlos Vela may get to lift.
All right, legacy is a pretty big picture conversation. Speaking of big picture, Herc, people were saying this was the best MLS Cup ever over the weekend. But before we have that conversation, let's listen into Carlos Vela. Here's what he had to say about the difference between this year's LAFC and last year's LAFC, and I think it has something to do with the coach.
Well, I mean, everything in life needs change sometimes. When something is not getting where you want, you have to move things. You have to try something different, and that's what the club did. And in my case, I was not thinking about Bob Bradley I was thinking of myself because I finished my contract. I was thinking about if I stay here or no. And in the end, we talk about the future and we say, like, come on, we need a trophy before I can leave the club or I can retire. Give me the chance. It's not about money. It's not about what I can do here. It's about I come here with a reason. I come here with a target. And before get it was like, give me more time. I know it was long, these 5 years, but in the end we did it and we look forward. We want more. We feel how good it is to be champions, so we want to work for get more.
Herc, what do you make of Vela's comments?
Every time I've spoken to Carlos Vela, he keeps talking about how he doesn't care about the individual statistics. I interviewed him here in February, And he mentioned how all that means very little to him. He wants to win a trophy. How the last two seasons have been so frustrating for him, having to watch his teammates play without him. How the trophy's the most important thing for him. He did it. When you're a man on a mission, when you're focused on what you want, you do what you can to get there. He was instrumental in the regular season, 12 goals, 12 assists. In the playoffs, he had a hand in pretty much every goal that LAFC scored. It doesn't go unnoticed, kind of like that star that they already put on that jersey if you saw it.
Yes.
Chris Klein and the LA Galaxy. It is Monday after MLS Cup, and you are on the clock.
Herc, is it worth noting the change at the top for LAFC? Not only that LAFC wins the title in their first year where Bob Bradley's not around, but they win it under a first-year head coach in Steve Cherundolo. Like, those two things I would not have bet on at the beginning of the season.
No, probably not, because it's a new head coach, a first-year head coach replacing an American coaching legend. But you mentioned this, we've spoken about this. John Thorrington should get plenty of credit for this. Mm-hmm. John Thorrington, who may have tinkered a little bit too much for people's liking, but he put the pieces in the puzzle or to the puzzle together the right way to set him up for not only what he thought would be MLS Cup, but now aiming to what is the CONCACAF Champions League. So there is an orchestrator out of this, and it's John Thorrington, and that's a big reason to that success right there. Bob Bradley, no Bob Bradley, as Carlos Vela said, sometimes you need to change things. It's time for people to move on or time for new projects to start. It's not always the worst of things.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.